This is Mark Bell from supertraining.tv. I got a question off of YouTube from a guy named Go Pioneers Laser Zero, and his question for the Power Project is he says he's having trouble firing his hips correctly when he comes out of the hole in a box squat. He's winding his hips forward off the box and using his quads. There's sometimes several reasons for this. One reason is you may not be initiating your glutes, may not be flexing your ass as hard as you should be at the top of the lift. When you unrack the weight, make sure that you flex your butt real hard. If you're walking the weights out, make sure that right before you set up for your squat, right before you descend in your squat, you wind up those hips by flexing your ass. You want to flex your ass as hard as you can, and then you're going to start to descend into the squat. Another thing that happens, sometimes people overreach when they do a box squat, so they'll reach back real far with their butt and then overcompensate with that. They'll slide forward onto their knees. Another thing that can happen is sometimes people kind of rock on the box a little too much, and when they rock, they kind of skid forward onto their knees. So those are some possible reasons why you're doing that. An exercise that I like, that I developed at Super Training with a few of my athletes, is to have somebody go down into a good morning, have them do a good morning, get their body about parallel to the floor, and come back up. On the next rep, have them do a squat. On the next rep, have them do a good morning. On the next rep, have them do a squat. That's going to give you a great idea on what you should be doing with your hips in a squat. It's also going to give you a great idea on how horrible it is to be in bad position for a squat, because a good morning is basically a shitty position squat. That's kind of what they're for. They're to save your ass when you get caught in a forward squat. It's going to help build up your back and help you to kind of just ride that lift out just long enough to strain through it, and then flex your hips and pop your hips through and come through on your squat. So it's basically just saving you from being in a faulty position in your squat, being in a forward position in your squat. Exercise like that's going to really teach you how to utilize your hips as well. Pause squats are good, where you pause the bottom of the squat. Box squats can be very useful, but that's what you say that you struggle with. Make sure that you're doing your box squats correctly, for one, but also two, try box squatting at different heights. If you can box squat, I had a burrito a little bit earlier today, so that's what that burp is from, and that one too. Try doing your box squats onto a box that's about 2 inches high. If you can perform the box squat correctly off a box that's about 2 inches high, stay with that box height for about 2 weeks, and then progress downward from there. Especially if you're not a competitive powerlifter, who really cares if you're breaking parallel or not? I know a lot of people will refute that and be all upset and say, oh, you need to activate the hamstrings by squatting below parallel, but I say, who really cares? Squats are hard enough, they're demanding enough, and I've seen enough people respond really well from not squatting below parallel. So how do you like that? So try squatting above parallel for a few workouts and see if your squats improve. Then you could always work your way back down another time. Also, make sure that what you're talking about is not in the 90 to 95% range, because if that's the case, that takes many, many years to develop. If you're trying to do a lift at 90 or 95% and then you're saying that your form is off, well, welcome to powerlifting, my friend. It's a tough sport, and most lifters don't develop the ability to move 90%, 95%, 100% with good form until they've been doing it for years, until they've really mastered their craft. I'd say almost a minimum of 5 years, but in most cases the guys have been at it for at least 10. A decade of powerlifting will get you that. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Also, make sure you're keeping up on your mobility. You can go on mobilitywod.com and check out some information over there to make sure that's not a limiting factor in your squat. Another thing that will help build up your hips for squatting and deadlifting is ultra wide sumo deadlifts and ultra wide squats. Try to squat real wide. Again, I'd start on a high box so you're not going to beat up the hips too much. You can always lower the box down as you progress through the next couple of weeks. I hope that helps you clean up your messy squat, and that's it from supertraining.tv.